Want to give your home a cozy glow up? Wisco Home Goods has you covered with hand-poured soy candles, crafted in small batches, made to burn clean, and scented to perfection. Stop by their store at 4664 Cottage Grove Road on Madison's beautiful east side, or browse online at wiscohomegoods.com. Shop local, breathe easy, feel good with Wisco Home Goods. Want some summer fun for a good cause? Loop the Lake is coming up Saturday, June 14th. It's a go-at-your-own-pace bike ride benefit for Clean Lakes Alliance, presented by Lake Ridge Bank. Riders start and end at Olbert Park and travel 13 miles clockwise around Lake Winona. And perk? Kids 10 and under ride free with a paid adult. You in? Sign up for Loop the Lake today. Go to cleanlakesalliance.org/loop-the-lake and use code BIKE10 to save 10%. Today on CityCast Madison. Welcome to the Friday News Roundup. We've got a lot to discuss. Unity Point Health Meritor nurses go on strike, outcomes from a fatal boating incident on Lake Winona, and some notable building construction in the city that you're gonna want to know about. It's Friday, May 30th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. All right, let's get this started. Joining me today here on the podcast is the leader of this podcast, Haley Sperling. How are you?
I'm so good. The sun is shining, and we're having a great week.
Yes. And our producer, Jade Isiri Ramos. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Bianca.
All right, so I'm kicking us off this week. The biggest news story of the week, I think, pretty easily is the nurses' strike. The news is that it struck. Unity Point Health Meritor Hospital nurses took to picketing outside of their hospital starting Tuesday in a planned 5-day strike over failed contract negotiations that have been happening these past few months. And it's culminated in a walkout. That hospital is over on South Park by Regent Street, so just right past the UW Health Clinic and Medical Center on Regent itself. It's in that area. And the union representing the nurses is the Service Employees International Union, or SEIU, and they represent 950 Meritor nurses who have been working under no contract since March. So this is the culmination, is what we're seeing this week, of those failed negotiations. The two sides have sat down over 20 times since the beginning of the year to strike a deal, according to a nurse at Meritor and the president of SEIU Wisconsin, Pat Reyes. And what the hospital has brought forward has been what nurses are saying in their press conference, not coming close to even halfway of what they want. So, what are the demands? The nurses have been demanding stronger staffing ratios, meaning the number of nurses to patients, strengthened workplace security protocols, and higher wages. And we know, nurses' jobs are super hard, and they're saying they feel unsafe and underpaid. A lot of local politicians have came out in support of the nurses, and some even out of state. Notably, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont spoke out in defense of the nurses. Congressman Mark Pocan came to the picket line and shared that he actually was a patient at Meritor for some artery issues some years back, and the nurses and staff are what made that a good experience for him. There was county exec Melissa Agard made a speech. Outgoing Wisconsin Democratic Chair Ben Wickler made some passionate pleas, him calling himself, as a Madisonian and a parent in Madison, he needs to stand up and speak out. Even Milwaukee Mayor Cavalier Johnson and Milwaukee County Exec David Crowley came here to share their support for the nurses and spread the message that this is a critical issue for nurses, not just in Madison, but across the state of Wisconsin. So a lot of support for the nurses. And I wanted to point out, too, in this process this week, to which I can only imagine was to bust the strike, the hospital sent out an email to the nurses threatening employees' health care. So that was another big beat in this story. Obviously, we talked about the threat of a strike on our last Friday News Roundup. So what do y'all think about what this strike means for the workers?
I feel like it's been really encouraging to see the community come out and support the nurses. Also, to put it in context, like there are almost 1,000 of them, like workers who walked out on the job. It's about like 950 of them. And so seeing this and seeing the community rally around them has been really, really inspiring and really heartening. Again, like you mentioned, Bianca, hearing from our elected officials, hearing from someone like Mark Pocan, who's like, I've had treatment at Meritor and this is important. People like Ben Wickler, obviously Bernie Sanders is a big name and he's always going to be a big name in the labor movement as well. So to see people coming out from across the country making their voices heard for this movement is really big. And, like I talked about this story last week, and the nurses, they're fighting for cash, but they're fighting for safety at work. They're looking for increased staff to patient ratios to ensure everyone's safety because, as we mentioned last week, violence against healthcare workers is on the rise nationally. And that's a scary thing to keep in mind. They work in very high stress situations when people are sick and people just want to help their families. But, it's hard when these are the folks that are actually doing the work and that are actually on the ground and they're saying, like, we need more support. I hope that the hospitals are listening.
Yeah, I think it's really important to highlight, too, that they've already met 22 times.
Yeah.
This is a last ditch effort when you go to strike. Like, it isn't like we're striking, we're mad. It's like they have been bringing the issues forward. And why would they lie? It's just like this sort of thing of like, why would you want to not be doing your job? Like, this is, I feel like sometimes people might villainize them for being out on the picket line. And it's just like, you've got to be kidding me, right? Because they're asking for safety. They want like metal detectors installed because there's been violent incidents at hospitals across the country. And nurses have always been one of the professions that face kind of violence in their day-to-day. But I don't know, like we saw frustration around corporate greed in the healthcare system hit a fever pitch late last year in the form of United Healthcare CEO losing his life, right? And a lot of Americans have rallied for the alleged murderer, Luigi Mangione, because they've just like had enough with a system that is broken. And those pressures are falling on nurses and they're saying we don't feel safe and we also feel underpaid. So, they met for another negotiation meeting on Thursday, and transparently, we are taping this on Thursday to get you this conversation bright and early Friday. But we'll continue to update you in our newsletter, Madison Minutes, on what's happening with this story, and on the podcast as more news comes in. This is the news of the week. We're all watching, and it's been a sight to see. So before we dive into any more news for this week, let's take a quick break. Do you need an entertaining spot for your next work event or birthday? How about taking it to the next level and choosing somewhere thrilling? The Thrill Factory has an arcade, bowling, tiki bar and restaurant, escape rooms, mini golf, laser tag, VR, and believe it or not, even more. Picture an indoor theme park on adrenaline. Oh, and did I mention they've got animatronic dragons? It's the ultimate family entertainment experience. All ages are welcome to enjoy Madison's largest collection of indoor activities. Their claim to fame is that they throw, quote, Madison's best corporate and birthday parties. Both of those event packages start at just $2.99. So, are you and your group ready for a thrill? Contact Thrill Factories at 608-285-5584 or online at thrillfactoryentertainment.com to book today.
Looking for an AI glow-up that passes the office vibe check? What? AI that only knows the internet doesn't make sense for business. Get AI trained on your data at IBM.com. The AI built for business. IBM.
All right, we are back with more news for this week. Unfortunately, a pretty somber story. Jade, you've got this one.
Yeah, Bianca, my story this week is tragic. The person who drowned in Lake Monona 2 weeks ago has been recovered and identified as 24-year-old Colin Smith. Colin and 3 others were out on Lake Monona on Friday, May 16th. They were on a sailboat and a kayak tethered together, and the boats capsized due to high winds, and ultimately one person was able to drift ashore to get help clinging to the sailboat, while the other stayed with the kayak. But when the Madison Fire Department made it to the kayak, only 2 people were rescued, and Colin was missing. I should note that those 2 survivors were wearing life vests while Colin was not. Search and rescue teams looked for him until midnight on that Friday and then resumed into the weekend. And by Monday, May 19th, folks from the volunteer organization Bruce's Legacy joined the search using sonar technology. Ultimately, with help from one of the survivors, Bruce's Legacy was able to locate and recover Colin's body on Friday, May 23rd, 1 week after he went missing. Colin was born and raised in St. Louis, and his family says that he was loved and admired by so many. And they say, quote, Colin's spirit will live on through his parents, his 3 sisters, his beloved cat, his extended family, his coworkers, and the multitude of friends and acquaintances that were always a source of pride for him and who will always be valued treasures in his life. This is a really, really sad story.
Yeah, that's tough. That's really tough. And I mean, I'm just like a toxic optimist here. Like, it is, to me, at least the bright side, like they were able to recover his body and there is some closure there. But also, I think this is just a reminder that nature doesn't play. Right.
Mhm.
And I'm sure all of these folks were strong swimmers and whatnot. But when you're out on the lakes without a life vest, like, you're taking a risk. And it's horrible to see these situations play out. And it's, like I said, it's nice that so many people rallied together to join the rescue efforts. And I'm glad that we're able to sort of close the chapter on this one.
Yeah. It's definitely tragic. We hate to have anyone lose family members. And so it's a sad story, but it is something that happened right here in our, region. So it felt important to talk about. And in addition to that, to double down on what you're saying, Haley, the lakes are serious and giving them some reverence for the power that they can have and not taking things for granted. That's very important and good advice for everyone. I think all of us who've lived here in Wisconsin know that these stories, unfortunately, are not uncommon. They don't happen every day, but across the state, you hear about drownings. And it's that time where people ideally are out having fun with recreation, but safety is key. And, we're just sending a lot of love to the family and, just so sorry that this happened.
Yeah. I want to highlight Bruce's Legacy, which is the volunteer organization that ultimately found Colin, but they're an organization based out of Black River Falls that assists fire departments and search and rescue teams in finding people. The idea behind this, and Haley, you mentioned this, is that it is so hard after you lose someone to mourn them, but it's even harder when you don't have them with you, right? When they're missing. And so they go out and they help teams find them using a side scan sonar, which is like a device that goes to the bottom of whatever body of water and is able to send sonar images back to a computer screen. And ultimately, that's how they were able to find Colin. And then they sent a team down to bring him back up. And you both mentioned, wearing life jackets. And I think that, like, during this sort of tragedy, it's nature to be like, well, if they were only, or it could never be me because I always. And I think that's like human nature, but it also, doesn't do anything to bring Colin back. But I do think that there's a lesson to be learned here, and that the legacy, among many things that I'm sure Colin's memory will be remembered for, is that reminder to just think again, like, if there's not enough life vests for everyone in your group, don't go out. Even if you're a strong swimmer, even if you don't think anything bad will happen. I'm a strong swimmer. I don't think I need a life vest, but like, this is going to make me think twice about that. And, one life doesn't need to become more lives.
That's so true. That's so true. And especially, too, when Wisconsin folks get on the lake and there's drinking involved, too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that was the case in this situation, but just in general, I think about people going out on the lake for Memorial Day or 4th of July around the corner. Like, it's just so, so important to keep safety top of mind.
Yeah, and weather conditions can change as well, so checking the weather before you leave is actually very, very smart, especially if you are going out on boats. But yeah, Jade, thank you so much for bringing this story forward and, doing what we can to honor them and just share what happened. We are going to be turning to a little bit brighter news on the other side of this. But before we do that, let's take a quick break.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/credit card, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Okay, we're back, and it is summer season, which means construction is happening, and it's kind of bringing some fun and exciting news. Haley, you've got the story on this. What do we have there?
Yes, you are so right. It is construction season here, and we've got some big, like physically large new residential buildings that are opening up and in the works across town. So I'm going to give a quick little highlight of what we got going on. As y'all know, Madison is in the throes of a housing crisis, and the bottom line is we need more units ASAP. Let's start with a building that isn't quite done yet, but I'm honestly a little bit excited for because it's being sold as something that the whole Madison community can enjoy, which is great because none of the three of us will ever be able to afford to live there. We'll get into that later. But it is 109 East Wilson, and it's a 14-story building overlooking Lake Monona with 340 apartments and a bunch of amenities, of course. And I'm so happy about more housing because this is what we really need. But what I'm really excited for with this one especially is what's happening on the ground floor. There is going to be 9,000 square foot food hall with space for 7 vendors, and it will feature a steakhouse, cocktail lounge, and this open outdoor promenade that passes through the middle of that ground floor and stretches out to an open air dining area overlooking Lake Monona. So lakefront dining, y'all. This is one thing that we talked about in our Toxic Traits episode, is that we do not get to utilize these lakes enough, especially in our dining scene. So I'm super stoked about that. And this promenade in question in structure is structured so that it can connect directly to the Madison Lakeway, which, if y'all remember, is that project that this is what we're calling the project that is the reimagination of the 1.7 mile stretch of the Lake Monona waterfront that is currently stupid hard to get to and take advantage of. Of course, that project is still very much in dream phase right now, aka it needs the money. But again, back to the building. The architects, they're really selling it as a community asset, and downtown representatives are into that as well. According to the Wisconsin State Journal, the apartments are slated to be completed in August, and the food hall and the restaurants are set to open up in September and October. So pretty exciting. I have a fun little game to play with you guys if you're interested.
Let's go.
I'm always interested in the game.
So like I said, I'm not jumping to move into one of these units, but this begs the question. I have pulled up some of the rental information for this place. How much do you guys think a 470 square foot studio runs in this building? 470 square feet. That's like a large walk-in closet for reference.
1,800.
1,800. And this is on the lake.
This, I'm not counting like the floors because I'm sure the higher floors are more expensive, right? But it's like, it's overlooking Lake Monona. It's middle of downtown, East Wilson, bumpin' area.
I'm bidding it low just for fun. I know it's more.
Yeah. I'll say like a smooth 2,000. It's expensive, but smooth 2,000.
You guys are close.
Okay.
2,050 for a 470 square foot studio.
Where are we? Manhattan? No, I'm just kidding. That would
big
be like
city.
4,000.
Yeah, literally. Here's the thing. it could always be worse. Like, as much as we lament these prices, it could be so much worse. And that number goes up to $25.95 for a 708 square foot 1-bedroom, and 2 bedrooms start at $3,500. So y'all, I'm taking applications for someone who would like to pay my rent in this building, basically. So yeah, not exactly cheap by any standards, but I don't know. I'm still kind of excited for the building. What do you guys think? Like, about this outdoor promenade? Bianca, I know you're super stoked about Lakeway. We've been talking about that a lot.
I am. I think, as always, wherever I go, I want to go somewhere that has a good vibe. So it's going to depend on if they decorate it in a way that's vibey. Like,
True.
I'm not going to switch going to, like Mickey's Tavern and have beautiful light fixtures and funky, leopard statues around to go be in a not saying that this is what it's going to be, but I looked at it. It looks like pretty sleek. You know, it looks clean, which is it's
very
nice.
modern.
But yeah, I think if they've got the vibes, I'll roll through.
All right. What about you, Jade?
So one thing that I'm worried about is if rent for a 400 square foot apartment is $2,050, how much is my sandwich in the lakefront dining going to be, you know?
Fair.
It's
so fair.
I'm super down. I'm excited to check it out. And also, I'm worried about that sort of entry level cost.
That's
right. Are they bringing the shelf higher,
Right.
for everyone? When it's like, well, yeah, all cocktails are $18.
True.
You better be coming correct if you're charging $18. Not saying that they are, but I can see a future.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't be
happy hour.
shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if they were. Yeah, it sounds like a great happy hour. That's the only way that I can take advantage of one of our other very few rooftop restaurants was Eno Vino. I'll go during their happy hour. So hot tip, go for happy hour, get some snacks and wine.
Yes, I haven't been yet. Don't they?
Yeah.
They have a crazy bathroom view.
Oh yeah, the bathroom's amazing. The bathroom's so
I'm coming for the vibes.
Yeah, the vibes.
The vibes
But you're
are
not
the
wrong.
bathroom.
The views too.
Yeah. So, definitely not cheap by any standards, but still the community aspect is pretty cool. And my thought process is if I hang out there enough, then maybe I can make friends with someone who lives in the building and I can take advantage of that rooftop pool. You guys gotta consider the possibilities here. So alrighty, I want to bring us to another quick East Side kind of success story. The old and troubled Super 8 motel on the Far East Side is officially gone, and in its place are new and relatively low-cost studio apartments. The building was literally dilapidated, but now it has new life as Sandberg Studios with 129 units varying in size from 277 to 340 square feet. Again, pretty small. But according to the State Journal, they're available for lease starting in June, and these prices are a little bit more palatable. They range from $975 to $1,125 a month, which personally, to me, still kind of feels like a lot considering the size of these units and their location on the Far East Side. But I know some of them are furnished, so that plays a role in that as well. But, as they say, beggars can't be choosers, and we are literally begging for housing. So that's another new construction that's happening there. And the last one that I want to touch on real quick is over on East Wash. And this one garnered a lot of attention when it was first getting off the ground because it's been labeled as Madison's first mass timber high-rise, which uses wood, as would be assumed,
Timber.
rather than concrete or steel. And by using wood, it is less carbon intensive. So it's a little bit nicer for our planet. This place, it's called Baker's Place, and it's built on top of the former Gardner Bakery building, which is where it gets its name, Baker. It has 206 market rate rental units, including 2 in the restored bakery, which is pretty neat. It's got studios that start at about $1,500, and it goes up to 3 bedrooms, and it's got first floor commercial space that, drumroll please, actually already has a tenant in it. I feel like so much of Madison development history is just like, yes, mixed use residential commercial building. What's going on the first floor? We don't know. Will
Empty
it be
storefront.
vacant for 3 years? Yes, we don't care. Build it anyways, which is like, ugh, it's fine. But I'm so sick of looking at all these empty storefronts, which is why I'm super excited about that new sauna bathhouse that's opening up in the Edge over on Willie Street. Anyways, I digress. The tenant that's coming into Baker's Place is Copa Vida Coffee Shop, which is a California-based chain. And this is going to be their first spot in Wisconsin. So it's pretty cool. And another cool-ish, depending on who you ask, aspect of this building is that it's really leaning into that quote-unquote lifestyle aesthetic and movement. It's offering its tenants weekly organic deliveries from Vitruvian Farms, and it's also offering them health diagnostics, like a package where residents can, quote, receive a VO2 max test, resting metabolic rate measurement, DEXA scans, full blood panel, mobility analysis, and a one-on-one consultation with our resident doctor, which to me feels like an episode of Black Mirror. But if you like that, go off. We are living in the future. I don't know. Would you guys ever get a health exam sponsored by your apartment building?
No.
I guess when you put it that way, like looking at this Cap Times write-up that has pictures of what's going in there, I mean, I feel like this place was made for people like me who are hippie adjacent, like in California, want trees and saunas and like health. Like we love Vitruvian Farms. We've had them
So
on the
true.
show. And yeah, but the health panel, I don't know, man. I'm thinking about getting an Oura ring. So I'm in terms of my
I already have
I
an
know,
Oura ring. So
everyone's
like,
got them, but it's like all my personal data. Hey, take it. I don't know.
I will say, I don't think the ring makes me happier. And I don't know if it's making me make healthier choices. I'm just more aware of my unhealthy lifestyle.
It's like
So-
you're really stressed.
Yeah, it's like, thanks, Oura ring. I know.
But now I have the data to prove it.
Not to say I don't wear it every day, because I do wear it every day. But yeah, but now you can live that lifestyle in Baker's Place building. So it's cool stuff. Again, pretty pricey, but hey, if you're living that dual income, no kid, that dink lifestyle, could be a way to go.
I think, Haley, you missed the thing that's like I'm most excited about is that Patterson Street's now open since that construction is done.
So true.
I've said this before. This is my favorite street in
Uh-huh.
Madison. Because it also has those huge Dr. Evermore
The birds.
sculptures that look like cranes on Patterson. But I've been waiting. I've been like, when's Patterson going to open for like years now? Years. Like waiting for this moment.
It's exciting. It's exciting. So good stuff all around. So whether you love the apartment or you hate the apartment, either way, Patterson's back open. So there's a bright side there.
Yep, love it or hate it, this is the world we're living in. But speaking of love, it's time to spread some love, joy, and appreciation for some local spots and groups. It's time for our neighborhood shout-outs. Haley, kick us off.
Yes, we love our neighborhood shout outs. This first one comes to us from Bryn O. She said, quote, "The Greater Madison Writing Project offers amazing opportunities for young writers in the Madison area during the summer. From journalism to advocacy writing, graphic novels to fan fiction, poetry to memoir, there is something for everyone." And fun fact, I was actually a guest speaker at one of these classes one time, and these kids are really cool and smart and funny, and it really just gave me sort of a breath of hope for the future. So yeah, shout out to the Greater Madison Writing Project. Go off.
Yay. And Caitlin H says their shout out is for the Malt House. She says they have kind owners / staff who are supporters of local music and provide a safe and welcoming space for all neighbors. I've never been, but I've wanted to go. And now I want to go even more. So we're talking about it's all about the vibes. If the vibes are good, the vibes are good.
They've got a great patio. We can hang out there.
Yeah, we should go.
And a very like accessible location right on the
Yes.
corner of Milwaukee and East Washington. Like
Easy to
Malt
get to.
House. Yeah. This one's from Anna J. Madison Rafa Sister City Project. shouting them out. And she says that the project is a peace and justice nonprofit who was founded to help increase the public's awareness of the ongoing devastation in Palestine and is now working tirelessly to help organize Madison area events, fundraisers, and calls to action, all in the name of supporting Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank and in stopping the genocide. Visit madisonrafa.org to donate to their important efforts and learn more. Yeah, Anna, we talked with one of the leaders of this organization on the podcast and their beautiful mission, and I'm so grateful that you shouted them out.
So many good shout outs. And on top of these shout outs, we have to give one of our own to the newest member of the CityCast Madison neighborhood. Welcome to Ann W. Pew, 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 pew.
I'm glad that's catching.
Thank you for supporting our work. We appreciate you. And if you're listening right now and want to be one of the coolest kids on the block and join the CityCast Madison neighborhood, guess what? You can just head to membership.citycast.fm. It is truly the best way to support our work. Thank you to our existing members. There are hundreds of you out there. We appreciate you. We see you. Y'all are the surprise cheese curd in our French fry basket. Thank
Nothing
you.
better. Nothing better.
Yes, or the surprise fry and the cheese curd. Either way, I'm
Either
happy.
way.
I'm always happy. All right, yes. Thank you to all of our members for writing in. Y'all are the bright note we're ending this week on. And team, thanks for rounding up the news with me this week. Thanks, Haley.
Thanks, Bianca.
And thanks, Jade.
Thanks, Bianca.
That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, your host. We're produced by Jade Isiri Ramos and Natalie Rivera. Haley Sperling is our executive producer. Our theme music is by Carl Christensen. Additional music this week by Christian Ayan, Opal 99, and James from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. Rob Thomas is our newsletter editor, with additional help this week from Natalia Aldana and Adrian Gonzalez. You can always get more news delivered right to your inbox by subscribing to Madison Minutes. And hey, if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this podcast with someone who likes nice buildings? All right, see you back here Monday morning, y'all, with more news from around the city. Until then, have a great weekend.